Hey everybody, welcome to the Leader Lab. This is Leadership Shorts, quick thoughts to help you level up your leadership. My name is Chad Wright. I'm the founder of Forward Partners, and I'm joined by my partner in podcasting, Emily Grace Deal. Emily, what are we talking about today?
Today we have someone that wrote in.
Okay.
They said, I used to love being a leader, but the nonstop problems are making it tough to get out of bed every day. Now what?
I like the I used to love being a leader.
I like the now what. It's like,
yes, now what?
This isn't working.
Can't get out of bed, now what? And listen, I have absolutely been on that boat. And I think anybody that's watched any episodes knows that a lot of the work we do is helping leaders defeat burnout. Mm-hmm. This is a huge sign of burnout, right?
Yes.
That breaking point of I don't know if I can keep moving forward.
When all you see is problems.
Yeah. And so I think it's good to kind of talk about how do we identify burnout? How do we actually recognize signs of it? Part of it will be people will see it and go, oh, I am trapped in the middle of it right now. Great, now what? Some of it will be we want to see it coming, right? We want to start to recognize some of those signs ahead of time.
I'm being a little preemptive.
Exactly. So we don't get trapped all the way down the bottom of the burnout curve. We can actually make different choices. We talked a few episodes back about being a conscious leader and making sure that we are making conscious choices. And so part of this is if we can recognize burnout, we can choose better. Yeah. And so let's talk through some of the kind of signs of it. And one of the big ones is a very, very simple one. It's a simple idea. One of the first signs is that you notice a switch in your head and you go from a lot of I get to I have to. I get to show up and lead every day. Yeah. I get to take care of my people. I get to solve problems. I get to do, like, there's a gratitude to that, right? There is I cannot believe the position I'm in. I get to do all these things.
Right. And if that seems unrealistic, you might need to know.
Exactly. If the idea of I get to seems totally foreign, burnout's probably got its claws in you, you know? But then there's that switch you can start to notice. I have to. Mm-hmm. And I think we see that all throughout our lives. I know in parenting, it's you have those burnout seasons, right? Where and it's really moment to moment, like you'll look at your kids and be like, oh, I love these kids. And the next moment you're like,
oh my gosh, I have to put their shoes on. I have to get them in the car and I have to
yes.
make them lunch again. Yeah. They still eat.
Yes, they do have to be fed. Turns out multiple times a day.
Yes.
I think that simple switch is one of the first things to watch too. If you find that you have switched from I get to I have to, it's a huge sign of it. And then I think there's some other signs that are pretty common. The first one is overwhelm. Yeah. Boy, when you're overwhelmed, even small things seem big, don't they?
Yeah, everything has just become additional to you, and it's additionally overwhelming, and there's more to do. It's more to take care of, and it seems to be just like a weight.
And a tiny little challenge can, in your mind, turn into a massive challenge.
Yeah.
And if we see that happening over and over and over again, it's a sign that we're overwhelmed all the time, and it's a sign of burnout. Yeah. The second one is cynicism. Boy, if we meet even good things with a sense of cynicism, let me tell you why that's bad. That is a sign of burnout. And some people are just cynical by nature, I think, in some ways. But even those people can find positivity when they're in a good place.
Right. If you notice that you're showing up to do anything or you're, not looking forward to things because you're like, oh, well, this is going to be terrible and here's why.
That's a good idea. Like every situation you're walking into, if you find yourself thinking about it ahead of time, this is going to be bad. If a good thing happens to you or your family or your company or your teammates and your angle you take on it is why it's a problem or why it's bad, that's a sign of cynicism, which is a huge, huge piece of burnout. Right. We talk a lot about hope, and cynicism is kind of the opposite of that, right? The next one is fatigue. We can all identify with this one, right? Yes. You go to bed tired and you wake up tired. You can just never seem to find rest. You can never find any kind of restoration. Mm-hmm. I know in leadership that is a common problem. I know in parenting that is definitely a common problem.
Yeah, it's a big part of that. It's tough to get out of bed situation. You're just like, I could sleep for another 12 hours and I'd be better.
Yeah, fatigue is such a big part of that. And then the last one, so we've got overwhelm, cynicism, fatigue. The last one is loneliness. And I think this might be one of the biggest signs of burnout because we came across a study recently where they talked about the idea that what most people identified as burnout was actually loneliness when they dug into it. Yeah. If you feel like you're alone, like utterly alone, like no one understands you.
Surrounded by people, but you still feel like you have to do it all by yourself.
Yes. If you are trapped in that sense of loneliness is a huge sign of burnout. And so that's something to think through, because really when we start talking about the solve for burnout, and that's going to be kind of the next episode. If you're listening to this, reading this, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, thank you, dear readers. If you're listening to this or watching this and you go, oh my God, I'm in the middle of burnout. Alt check. There is that now
stay
what,
tuned.
right? Yes, stay tuned, because I think next episode we really want to give that space and dig into that. But these are really, really common signs of burnout.
Yeah.
And I think we can recognize these, and what you're looking for is consistency in these. So I might have a day when I'm not burned out, but I definitely feel overwhelmed, or I definitely feel fatigued.
But the acknowledgement that you're like, okay, the day before, like it's a new feeling that you're recognizing,
Yes.
you're catching it, and you're seeing that as a sign of burnout.
Exactly.
And you're not like, oh my gosh, my last month and a half have been overwhelmed and cynical and all of these things.
And if you do see that consistent sense of that, then that really is a sign you're burned out. And so, part of this, leaders, is being able to identify burnout, because it's one thing to say I'm burned out, but to really recognize the things, the aspects of it, so that we can say, if we are not, now what? And we can really figure out what is that next step. So if you find yourself in not I get to mode with gratitude and excitement, but I have to mode. And in I have to mode, there's a lot of overwhelm. Little things seem really, really big. There's a lot of cynicism. Even good things are met with reasons why it's a problem or reasons why it's bad. If you're fatigued all the time, you go to bed tired, you wake up tired. And really, if you feel alone, if you feel like you are surrounded by people, but no one understands what you're in the middle of, these are all signs of burnout. And they're signs that you're trapped. And honestly, once we get trapped, we need help to get out of that. And so we want you to do two things. One, if you are in the middle of burnout, listen to the next episode. It's coming out 2 days from now. And I promise you, we have some insight that's really, really going to help with that. And two, start watching for these on a regular basis. If you say, yeah, I'm kind of checking box 1 or 2, but not all of them, start watching for it. And when you see it happen, take intentional steps to start to develop new rhythms. And that's a lot of what we'll talk about in the next episode. We're excited to kind of have that conversation and share that with you. All right, if people are in the middle of burnout and want to send us questions about how to get out of it and what to do, where do they send that to?
They send it to lab@forwardpartners.net.
lab@forwardpartners.net. If they are wanting to find more information on social media, because we are constantly putting out free content about all these ideas of leadership and burnout and thriving, where do they find that?
@ForwardPartner.
@ForwardPartner. Thank you so much for this conversation. Cannot wait for the next episode. John, thank you for producing. Wilco Workspaces, thank you for the partnership. And thank you for joining us. If you are checking any of these boxes, please come back, watch the next episode. I promise you're going to find some life in the middle of that. You're going to find some next steps to answer now what if you can't get out of bed. We will see you next time right here in the Leader Lab for Leadership Shorts.